Hey folks, welcome back to the channel where I share investment strategies used by wealthy people all over the world. And one way that can help anyone get rich is by setting goals. So in this video, I'm going to share my goals for this year and how I plan to achieve them. Hopefully this will give you some new ideas or fresh perspectives that you might find useful. So let's get into it. Goal number one, I plan to increase my household net worth by $300,000 this year. Both my wife and I have middle class incomes, but the reason we can set a goal of this size is because we've already amassed over $4 million in assets. This massive asset column will do the heavy lifting of growing our wealth for us. If we assume a 6% average return from our assets, then that's already a $240,000 increase in our net worth before adding any additional savings or paying down our debts. How do we build this asset column, right? So they don't really teach this in school, but the secret to building up millions of dollars like this is to never sell appreciating assets. See, most people sell their starter homes when they upgrade to a larger living space, and then eventually they sell that property to buy a bigger house, essentially trading one asset for another. If you live in a growing and highly desirable city like Vancouver or Toronto, the problem with selling a property is that you will forego any future appreciation of that asset from then on. And instead of doing this, what I did from the beginning was to just keep my first home, wait for the equity to build up, mortgage principal pay down and price appreciation, and then use this property as collateral to buy my second property, and then wait for a good opportunity to borrow against these assets again to take money out and then buy a third property. So instead of just keeping the final house that I live in today, I'm continuing to capture the growth of all three properties. Those other two homes that I don't live in will continue to increase in price over the next 10 years, no matter who owns them. So if I already have them, then I might as well just keep them under my name, right? I'm just taking real estate as an example, but it goes for any other asset class. Like my wife and I do this with our stocks as well. We borrow on margin to invest or purchase big ticket items. But I'll make a separate video on that another time. Speaking of margin borrowing, I currently have about $110,000 of margin debt in my non registered Canadian account. And my second goal of this year is to increase that to more than $130,000. This might sound a little strange. Most people set goals to pay down their debt. How come I want to increase my borrowing? It's because there's tiered lending with my brokerage account, and if I borrow more than $130,000, the annual interest rate I'll pay on any additional dollar that I borrow is just 1%. Now, with inflation being as high as it is, I would be essentially getting paid to borrow at 1%. And there are lots of dividend growth stocks that are fairly valued today that I can buy with this borrowed money, and I can use the dividend payment that I receive, which is higher than the cost of borrowing, and I can use inflation to pay down this debt over time. Using controlled borrowing to invest is a great way to increase the asset column. Another thing I want to increase in 2022 is my human capital. So my third goal is to read at least 5 books. I recently just finished The Art of Persuasion by Bob Burg. It's really good for developing social skills, and I'm currently reading The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. I don't have anything particular lined up after this, so if you have any book recommendations for me, put them in the comments below. It could be anything related to self-development, finance, economics, investing, anything like that. I know a lot of you guys are avid readers. I'm curious to see which books have made a big impact on you. And speaking of reading, I recently read some benefits of meditating. So my goal number 4 is to meditate for 60 minutes a day for at least 60 days. This idea came from a Medium article that I read. I'll link it in the description if you want to take a look at it yourself. But basically, studies have shown that meditation can help you reduce stress, increase focus, and even help increase memory retention. A lot of high-profile CEOs and entrepreneurs do this. Bill Gates, even though he's very busy, usually meditates 2 or 3 times a week or just whenever he can. Oprah is also a big proponent and encourages everyone to find time in their day to be still and present with their thoughts. And Ray Dalio says that more than anything else in his life, meditation was the biggest ingredient to his success. That sounds a little bit like an exaggeration. Like I'm sure his hard work and good judgment probably contributed more to his success than meditation. But maybe what he means is that meditating gave him more clarity and more focus and helped him make better decisions. So hopefully this practice of meditating can help me make better investment decisions, because my goal number 5 is to produce a 10% investment return in my non-registered IB account. Last year, I managed to do quite well, but that was an anomaly. I expect much more subdued returns this year. The S&P 500 is currently at 4677. Based on company earnings and where I think interest rates are going, I think it will end this year above 5,000 points, which is a 7% increase. So I'd be happy if I can get a 10% return. And I plan to do that by continuing to hold growing businesses with large moats and pricing power. And finally, goal number 6 is to earn at least $20,000 in net premiums from trading options. Last year, I earned about $10,000 in net premiums, so that's after accounting for all the losses. I believe I can double that figure for this year because I have more experience and I feel more comfortable managing riskier trades with potentially higher returns. But $20,000 will be a challenge because this year was off to a bad start. When Lightspeed was trading at $90 a share, I sold a put with a strike price of $70. I didn't think it would fall so low, but apparently it did, and I ended up paying $7,000 to buy 100 shares at $70. I was hoping it would bounce back up, but instead it's dropped further. And now I am holding the bag at $36 a share. So I am down more than $3,000 on this trade. This has been the worst options trade that I have ever made so far. But I do have a plan to turn this around and not only break even, but actually make a profit from this company. It is quite risky though, because I'll essentially be doubling down. But that's going to be the topic of my next video. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and you can catch that video next week. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and until next time.